Well, the holidays are busier than ever, and you need comfort and style for all occasions. And Mack Weldon is here for you with their daily wear system. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com/Bob and enter promo code Bob. That's MackWeldon.com/Bob, promo code Bob for 20% off Mack Weldon. Get it right this holiday season.
Hey, everybody. Before the podcast begins, I have a little disclaimer I wanted to add to the front of this episode. I just want to add that this podcast was recorded just a couple days ago, and my dear friend and guest, Danny Burstin, is going to be on in a second and tell us about his Tony-winning role in Moulin Rouge, which unfortunately just on Thursday and Friday had to close down due to a case of COVID in the company. And they will be back up and running as soon as possible, which I hope is while you're listening to this podcast, they're getting ready for tomorrow's performance. And I hope that the cast is well and staying safe and, of course, tested throughout this difficult time, as well as the audience. In the meantime, I think it will make this podcast even more meaningful. I really do think that because, it springs hope for being able to get back into the theater and put on shows in front of audiences safely. So I'm going to just wish for the best, as we all are. And I'm going to stop talking. And here comes the actual intro for my special episode with my dear, dear friend, the incredibly talented and beautiful Danny Burstin.
Hey everybody, it is Bob, and this is another friend episode, like someone that I'm very close with episode of Bob Sagets here for you. It's my friend Danny Burstin. Danny is a very well-known and incredibly brilliant actor and singer and dancer and performer and star of Broadway. He is in Moulin Rouge right now, which he'll be doing for a little while longer. And then it's sold out all the time. If you get a chance to go to New York, catch him in this. He is so special. I met him years ago. I guess it's 15 years ago when I was able to close the show, because I'm a closer, of the Drowsy Chaperone, which was originally Bob Martin, who is a brilliant friend who I got to meet because I was the last man in chair, and Danny played a part named Aldolfo, and it kind of was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in a play. And then there were other funny things that I'd seen in other plays, like the South Park, Book of Mormon. And my God, so many great comedies. What am I talking about? I'm not going to start listing things. But this man was nominated for 7 Tony Awards over the years, and he won a lot of Drama Desk Awards. I know a lot of you don't know what that is. That's when you have a lot of drama on a desk. That means you shouldn't be doing that because you work with those people. But he was nominated for so many shows: South Pacific, Follies, Golden Boy, Cabaret, Fiddler on the Roof. He was Tevye. That's Fiddler on the Roof. He has some very dramatic experiences. He had a very beautiful, incredibly talented wife, Rebecca Luker, who passed away from ALS. And he is going through it, and he's got an open heart, and he really tells you everything. He almost died from COVID. He, in March of 2020, he struggled to get to the hospital. He walked from his apartment with his son, and he almost lost his life. And he's going to talk a little bit about that. He is of the biggest heart, and he's brilliant, and I love him. I love him. And I don't know if your takeaway will be that you love him too, but see him, Danny Burstin, see him on Broadway in your life. Find the next thing he's going to do, and you will just be mesmerized because he chooses work very carefully. He just won't do just anything. And he is one of the best performers on Broadway that there is. So that's my guest coming up any second. And you know what to do with this thing. You just do it. You rate, review, you subscribe, you can comment. You can follow us on the YouTube, which is, youtube.com/Bob Saget. And of course, we're at Apple, Spotify, all of the Stitcher, Frisbee, I don't know, all kinds of stuff. You can find us in Game Boy. I don't know where else you find it. Wherever you find these things. And I'm getting really a nice response. I moved over to All Things Comedy, and I'm really having fun being over here. And I've got wonderful guests coming up in the weeks ahead and the years ahead, because I have no reason to not do this podcast. I love it. I actually adore it. I get to have conversations with people that I'm interested in, that I haven't met, and I get to talk to friends. And this is one of those episodes. This is a dear friend of mine, and just one of the biggest-hearted people I know. Please welcome, and you can applaud if you're in your car or falling asleep in your car, Danny Burstin. Here he comes. Oh, you're handsome. Oh, you're working out so much. The physical demands of what you literally.
Yeah, it's just called exhaustion. That's what it is.
That's your entire career.
It's true. I never get any of these easy roles.
I met you, you were on a foam roller.
Yes, we won't say where the foam roller was. So.
It was I kept mine between my legs because that's where I needed to work out the most. Just my little.
Guilty. Yeah.
Yep. I just, you've heard of paint rollers. I had a taint roller. That's what I wanted to open with. Why not start talking to my dear friend that way? Danny, I'm so happy to see you.
Oh, it's so great to see you, Bob. I love you so much.
I love you so much. People are listening and they're going, wait a minute, what is this going to be? And I'm like, I just love it. Everybody in their life should have a person like that gets to have a friend like you is a very gifted person. You are, everyone that knows you, everyone that sees your work comes out in everything you do, but you're just, Danny, I don't know where the muses and the angels aligned, but they aligned in your being.
Well, that's how I feel about you, my friend. When we met, I felt like the angels aligned. I felt like I found a brother, and that's the way it's been. I don't know, how long is it? Not 15 years or so now.
Something crazy. I'm looking at a Drowsy Chaperone poster behind me. I think there's one above me. Oh, look at this. I can tilt up. There it is up there.
Nice.
Yeah. You're all over it. They just shoved me in at the last minute. Color form his head in.
I remember you were on the top of taxis all over New York.
Literally, I was holding on to them. We didn't have Uber. That's when we were kids.
Back in my day.
I had a phone booth attached to the car. So this is your day off. You're working 6-day weeks.
Correct. And we're doing 5-show weekends right now, which means basically we do 5 shows in 48 hours. And so I just got off doing that, and just a little exhausted.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. You don't look exhausted. That's the magic of performing, isn't it?
And makeup. Yeah.
You have no makeup on, but their glasses are damn cool. I don't know.
Oh, you can get them on Facebook for $9 if you want.
Seriously? Where is it really?
They're just readers. Yeah, that's all.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, had to graduate up.
My wife got me a pair. These are hardcore prescription because I'm a mess, but she got me the ones that you can look at your iPhone at night so that it stops from the blue light doesn't affect your brain. Like that's going to work on me. Like that's going to stop a guy that's a bull that can't go to bed. I'll wear these. That'll keep me from having I don't know. What kind of light comes out of your iPhone? Not good light.
Not good light, the bad kind.
Now, what do you do? How do you, you're working constantly. Moulin Rouge came back. When did you guys come back?
We came back about 3 months ago. And we came back with a bang. We were one of the first shows to come back. And it was a huge, big splash. and we opened on a Friday. And the following 2 days later, the following Sunday was the Tony Awards. So it was all a crazy time of, super busy excitement. And then our show won 10 Tony Awards. And so that just...
Were they nominated? How many were they nominated for?
14.
You guys got stiffed.
Son of a bitch.
Those 4 awards.
Those 4 awards. Back in my day.
Best exterminating in the bottom of the theater goes to... I mean, I heard that I'm going to digress all over because you know me for a while now. But yeah. I did hear that they had some pestilence in the basements because of COVID. Animals were running free.
Yes, I mean, they had the run of the place for 1.5 years now. And so they're coming back in when it's cold, and they're going, why are there humans here? So there are mice in all of the Broadway theaters, which is very funny because I haven't seen that in years and years. Right. Years ago, Seagull on Broadway with Tyne Daly and John Voight. And in the middle of one of the scenes, and Ethan Hawke was in it too, and Laura Linney. In one of the scenes, a mouse ran across the stage. And it was just like, oh, we're outside. They should be doing that. But the audience was a little freaked out. Right. And people in their dressing rooms have been a little freaked out when they all of a sudden pop up. One popped up in my dressing room.
Where? Where was it?
Oh, in the little futon that I sleep on.
That's great.
He was trying to keep warm. I understand. Part of me really understands. I pulled out the blanket and pulled out the futon, and he went in midair. Jumped and then ran away and hid in the corner.
All of the Disney plays require a mouse.
Exactly.
Make an appearance. It's a secret thing. So, man, I mean, I'm just going to go back a little bit because I met you when Drowsy Chaperone. What year was that?
I'd say that was like 16 years ago now.
Yeah. So the brilliant Bob Martin.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, a lot of friends involved in that.
Yeah, Casey Nicolau he directed and choreographed it, and he just pulled in all his friends because it was his first show that he was directing and choreographing. He'd choreographed Spamalot before that and learned a lot from Mike Nichols. And he and I were, chorus boys together in shows, and he just called in all his chits and he said, hey, I want you. Come on, it'll be one big family and we'll do this wonderful show. And he said, and everything he said, we just followed like little kids, like he was the Pied Piper, and because it was just so much fun. And then we opened to rave reviews, and we just knew we had something special because it was a complete labor of love. I've never quite experienced anything like that. And all the people that came in after, Jonathan Crombie, John Glover, Bob Saget, everybody fell right into that spirit. And you closed the show, and it was in the most beautiful way. You brought everything to fruition in this great way, and you had the biggest heart. And that's why, without getting too mushy, I fell in love with you because you have the biggest heart. And
this is going to be a very mushy podcast. There's nothing we can do about this.
You made that show freaking funny, really, really funny.
Well, the first thing, thank you, because I watched the show. Our friend Kevin McCullum produced, and a lot of other producers, because Broadway shows have 900 producers that all have a piece of it. And one night they all show up together, and some of them smell like mothballs because their suits have been used for 30 years of shows they've supported. They put their money not into their suits, but into getting Broadway made. I think I'm trashing. I think the people I'm trashing are not with us anymore. I think we're okay. But Bob Boyette, who had produced Full House, was one of the reasons I did it also. And he just wanted to get me in a cardigan sweater again, I think. But something happened for me. Would you say that was the most consequential? I mean, you'd been doing theater for, oh my God. I mean, you went to school for it. So you did it forever. So
I've been doing it professionally since I was 19, theater. And that show really took off. I got my first Tony nomination from it, and I was 42 years old. And people were like, "Where have you been?"
Isn't that hilarious?
Hilarious. And I'd been working steadily my entire life.
Yeah.
It's all I wanted to do, and I got very lucky doing it. And but that show, I would have to say, put me on the map in a different way. And then all of a sudden there were breakdowns coming out and saying, "We want a Danny Burstein type."
Right. That's the funniest. And they go, "Well, how about Danny? He's available." "No, we want the Danny Burstin type." There was an actor, Jim Hampton, did a lot of television, and all they ever wanted was a Jim Hampton type. He was good. Why don't I get the call? But you, okay, so Kevin McCullum calls me, says, "I want you to see a show. I want you to sit in the audience." I watched the show, and it's one of the most beautiful shows I ever saw in my whole life, because it's hilarious. Bob Martin and help me, I don't want to leave anybody's names out of all the other writers.
Lisa Lambert.
I love her.
Right.
And the other writer was Rob.
No, I'm blanking on his name.
You're doing it too?
Great. He's wonderful.
He is so
Great.
Good. Oh, damn it. I'm going to have to do this. This is what people need to do more so that they don't make mistakes on the air.
Yeah. But you look great. You do. Have you lost weight?
I have. It's all in my colon. It just tells me the writers of Drowsy. It talks about sleep. I think it's the people that design sleep meds. That's all I found. But he's a damn good writer. Oh, I'm going to have to do this. This is too rude. Because he's going to... Yeah, it's...
Don McKellar.
Thank you. And then, sadly, we've lost a few people that were attached to that show.
Yes, Georgia Engel.
Yeah, and Roy, producer Roy.
Oh, right, of course, Roy Miller. Yeah.
Yeah, and yet that is life. That is life, and you've experienced more life. We're going to get to that in a second, but why open with that? But I watched you on stage playing Adolfo, and the play didn't get its due in how long it should get to run. I hope I'm not the reason, but they said I wasn't. Kevin McCullum said, and I am a closer. I show up with a briefcase. I bring the numbers.
And the hard, yeah.
I loved it. I think more than anything I'd done an off-Broadway play before that called Privilege, but it was really my first. I did a 5,000-seat college gig the night before, and I'm in a limo reading the script, trying to literally jam it into my head because I had quite a bit of dialogue.
Oh my God, a lot of dialogue. Yeah, it's the lead role in a Broadway musical.
My mother didn't know that, and she wouldn't come see it, and she said, "You're playing man in chair. You couldn't get a real part?" What was so you were brought to the play, Casey brought you in, and then you met with Bob?
No, actually I was involved with the show before Casey ever got
when
involved.
It was workshop.
Yeah, I was sitting here at home, and my wife and I were sitting here doing paperwork, and I was working on a show, and I got a phone call from Roy Miller. And the thing is, I had a friend who booked a commercial, and he called me and he said, I'm supposed to do a reading in 2 days. And I play like 7 different characters, and each character has a different accent. But, I have to do this commercial. Can you do it for me? And I said, sure. So I helped my friend out. And Roy Miller was at this reading that I was never supposed to be in.
Right.
And he called me a couple of days later and says, "Hey, Danny, you don't know me, but I'm a producer and I've got the rights to this show. I saw you in that reading and think you'd be perfect in this role." And I was already doing another project and I was exhausted. And my wife could overhear the conversation. And he described the show and it sounded funny. And my wife literally went like this, do it. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll help you out. Sure. And so I wound up reluctantly kind of doing the first reading in New York City of the Drowsy Chaperone. And It was fantastic and one of the most fun things I'd ever done. And then, you leave it alone and you hope that something happens with it. And sure enough, producers were picked up. And I think we did another couple of readings of it. And then Casey joined. And then we wound up going to LA to the Amundsen and playing it there. Mm-hmm. And, and all these incredible people would come up, these great comedians, Betty White and Carol Burnett, and all these wonderful, wonderful actors came in and were very kind afterwards. And I thought, wow, we must be onto something here. And then we got the producers and we came to New York and the show was a big old hit and the rest is history.
It was an amazingly written piece also because it's a 70-minute play. There's no intermission. The Bob Martin character, man in chair that I got to close, does the intermission, and it's all brilliant, self-aware things about theater. Don't you hate candy wrappers? Don't you hate, and he's complaining about theater in the first place. And everybody should be able to see this play. It's so, I know some schools put it on now and then, but it felt like that's a play that should come back. But
I hope so. And those guys are all out of Second City in Toronto. So they had that real improv feel. And
right.
While in rehearsal, we would just play. And it was the true meaning of the word play. You're in a play and you get to just play and say whatever you want and see what happens. And they would go, great, hold on to that. That was perfect. We can let the rest of that go. And that's what the rehearsal process was like. So it was so collaborative, so organic, and so much fun. It's very rare that you get projects like that.
And it came out of Bob Martin and his
wife's wedding. Yeah.
Yes, Janet. And they had a 40-minute show that was put on.
Yeah.
By the amazing writer that we have not mentioned.
Don McKellar.
Don McKellar, you did. I have great recall. That's why this podcast is going through the roof today.
And recall him.
We're gonna actually dedicate this entire podcast to Don McKellar.
Don McKellar.
And what happened was, but people don't know it's a fantasy. It's a guy that's got an album. He's a shut-in. And he's talking to the audience as you would, and you do that in many of your roles. You've done it in Fiddler on the Roof. It's the Tevye.
Doing it now is in Moulin Rouge. Yeah, Harold Zidler. Yeah.
You're so amazing in it. It's so, well, you can't say, how many Drama Desk awards can you get? And why do they call it a Drama Desk? Is it just a desk and they have awards on it? Why is it? It's a guild.
Yes, it's like the Knights of the Round Table. And it's all the drama critics and these people who are part of a guild. Exactly right.
Now, you nominated 7 times. You win it, and it's after the pandemic, and you also go through the biggest loss of your life.
Yeah.
And it is odd how life works. It's like a giant door closes, and then a little bit of a hug, which is probably how you perceived this award at that time, with the loving of your sons and the loving of Rebecca. There's so much to tell people. I guess without getting too traumatic, it's better coming from your mouth than mine, I think.
Sure, yeah. Easily 2.5 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with ALS and Lou Gehrig's disease. And so she tripped one day running for the bus, and she twisted her ankle. And she was like, what the hell? She's healthy as a horse her entire life, never sick, she got a cold. It was rare. And she was fine. And then, she sort of taped up her ankle, and 2 weeks later it happened again. So she went to a PT, and he was working on her ankle and said, I think you're losing sensation in your big toe a little bit. It doesn't seem to be working properly. Maybe that's what's throwing you off. And so she went to a neurologist, and they thought maybe it was spinal stenosis, and went to another neurologist, and that numbness was slowly going up her leg. It took months, but it just kept going, and they couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And they thought, okay, it's definitely spinal stenosis. We're going to have the operation in your lower back and fix it, and you're going to be fine. And she had the operation, and it was successful, but it just kept going. And she was walking with a cane, and she was a very beautiful, strong person, like an athlete. She worked out all the time, and she couldn't understand it. So, especially a person who was not sick at all ever. If it happened to me, I'd go, it's inevitable, of course, because this is falling apart and that's falling apart. But it was tough on her because she didn't know how to react to that kind of change in her body. And so she, she got very angry at times because her body was letting her down. And then the entire leg was gone and couldn't work. And she was walking with a walker, and she had one leg basically to walk on. And then the other leg started to go. And then finally, she was diagnosed with ALS, and there is no test for ALS. It's not like they can, do a blood test and run all these labs and go, you have ALS. It's a fallback diagnosis. They only diagnose ALS after they've realized they've tried everything else. It's bad when you're praying that your wife has MS, and not ALS. It's really, really bad. But nothing worked. We were hoping she had a lesion on her brain so they could control it, but it just wasn't working that way. And we found some wonderful doctor in New York. And he said that, yes, I'm sorry to tell you. And we hung up the phone, and we were just devastated. And, slowly but surely, she, went to some great doctors at Mass General in Boston and here at Columbia in New York. And they took wonderful care of her, but there's just not much that can be done at this time. She was on many trial medications, and the average lifespan after diagnosis is 2 to 5 years. And she lasted 13 months from diagnosis. And the anniversary of her passing is December 23rd. So that's right around the corner. And so I'm not sure how all that, I'm going to deal with all of that. But, the first year, as anybody can tell you, is just weird. It's all these firsts. It's just weird, and you find yourself, sort of talking to her because there's nobody else there, and how she would respond, and you just miss her for so many important, things. I was driving to my parents' house, who live in Queens, for Thanksgiving, and just knowing that she would have been right in the car with me, so I put my hand, where her hand would have been. It's things like that. And ironically, on the 23rd, I have 2 shows.
One of the healthiest things about this insane career, if you can function, and you'll be able to, but again, when it happened, you were working. And
the pandemic was going on. When she passed, you mean?
When she passed, you were, right. Okay. So you were not.
Yeah, but I've been through the experience of people losing someone when a show was going on.
I have as well. Yeah.
They found the most therapeutic thing to actually focus on the work, and I'm hoping that is what happens for me. I know it'll be a very tough day because spoiler alert, at the end of Moulin Rouge, she dies. So it'll be therapeutic and cathartic, And I think it'll be good to be surrounded with all these people that I love.
And they will surround you. And that, with your Tony speech, and you've never been a person that goes, "Oh, give me an award that will validate me." It's an amazing thing to get nominated. It's an amazing thing to win. But your speech, and also what you wrote for the Hollywood Reporter in regard to her, and well, you wrote several pieces and you did a bunch of press, and it was all geared from a place that is so much needed from people that are in the public eye, that are actors, writers, producers. Rather than getting on a soapbox, you've always approached everything with love, and you
Right.
certainly dedicated so much. What was, when you won for Moulin Rouge, and this is, you just came back, you've got the Tonys, they're rewarding you for the year that was closed,
Right.
the year before.
Right.
You knew you were going to dedicate. It felt like you had a prepared thing, because you're prepared. Some people go, "I didn't think I was going to win, so I didn't have anything," but you had the beats of it. It appeared.
That's right. I did. I knew I wanted to thank everybody for looking out for us. I know, look, during a pandemic, when we couldn't get hospital workers here, we couldn't get a nurse here, friends, actors, producers, writers, people showed up for us. They actually came in the door. We had a rotating group of like 23 people that would come in and help to take care of Becca. And people sent food and cards and love and flowers and made phone calls and checked in. I know you did, of course, because that's who you are. And
I was going to send you a massage, but I thought it might be inappropriate. I don't know. Gallows humor gets me through, and sometimes if someone knows me like you do, it doesn't offend. But other people go, "How could he say that?"
oh, I love it. Yeah, you're desperate actually for humor at that time. You really are. And you're willing to laugh at pretty much anything, I mean, she was so ill, and making her laugh was such a beautiful thing, making her happy. And one of the greatest things that she did near the end was she had recorded an album with her friend Sally Wilford, a duets album, and it's called All the Girls, and it's a wonderful CD. And they were listening to the rough cuts, and making changes. So they were sending notes to the producer to make this a little louder, punch this up, and she was doing that until 2 days before she passed. And then 2 days after, on Christmas, the album came out. It dropped, and it was this beautiful thing, and that kept her going. That project, putting that love into that. And she was, doing things all throughout her illness. She realized she was, it was, the odds were not good. Mm-hmm. 2 to 5, for goodness sake. So she had precious time. She was living on borrowed time, and she knew she wanted to make a difference. And so she was trying to have a voice as far as finding a cure for ALS, and trying to get bills passed, and trying to get certain trial medications pushed ahead of schedule. And she was an amazing advocate for the illness, an amazing advocate for life, the way to live a life. And, she was a real example. She was talk about someone who led with love. That was her all over, and kindness. And she also happened to be one of the most glorious singers the world has ever known.
When I met her, she was in Mary Poppins as the nanny, and
as the mother. Yeah,
as the mother. I'm very well informed for this. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm emotionally thrown because we haven't talked, and so I'm on the verge of some kind of, I don't know, just gushy tears, because we've talked about it, but not for a while, and here we are on a podcast talking about something that was public, and you wanted it to be public, and so did she. But I mean, I just think about, here I was getting to be friends with you, and then getting to be friends with her, and she sang. I mean, exquisite. I mean, an incredible talent. And then I remember one night, my two older daughters, Aubrey and Lara, and we went to Per Se, Thomas Keller's restaurant. The four of us, and we just, I think, ate for 7 hours. I'm pretty sure, and indulged like four Karens in New York. And she would, I'm telling you, Danny, I mean, you had 20 years together, right?
20 years married, yeah, and 23 and a half or so, yeah,
Oh,
altogether.
so it was 3.5 years of fooling around?
Yeah, damn right.
Damn right. Hold on to that.
Absolutely.
You know, those stages of grief you've been through, you know everything. You're incredibly smart. So I know you would recommend people go talk to people right away, get people to help them, whether it's dear friends or therapists.
Absolutely. Just keep talking about it. Get it out. Don't be afraid to feel all the feels. And I still have moments where all of a sudden just, oh, this is a very sad day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I have them.
It doesn't go away. It changes. My parents lost 4 kids because they were just really bad parents. They just lost them. It was at the mall. But that's how I survived. But I asked my mother a couple times about one of my sisters who was 34, my sister Andrea. I think we talked about it briefly.
Yeah.
She died at 34, and she was schizophrenic, and she recovered to a degree where her quality of life was improving, and then she had a brain aneurysm. And I asked my mother a few times, I asked her for years. She said, you know what today is? This is 20 years later. And I would go, yes. And I said, does it ever get easier? And she said, there's not a day I don't think about her. It's my whole life. And it is, some years it's easier, some years it's harder, but then you're buying a pair of shoes, or you're going to the market and it just hits you. Or you see something that you guys ate together, or there's a song you heard together, and you're reduced to rubble.
Yeah, I just recently was cleaned out her clothes closet. And that was a tough thing. I mean, I had a lot of her girlfriends come over 6 months after she passed, and we had basically a big party, and they tried on all her clothes, and they took about a good 2/3 of her clothes that were in.
Lovely. That's really lovely. I have a question. Just be honest with me. Just answer quick. Did you try any of them on?
No. I answered yes. You want to say hello?
Absolutely.
Well, unfortunately, she's not one of those cats that likes to be picked up, and she has mean claws.
I don't need that. Like, the theaters need that cat.
Yes, they do. I believe my mind. I should bring her there. Anyway, most recently, I gave away the rest of her clothes to a friend, one of the women who helped, a nurse's assistant who came and helped. And she was very helpful during the whole time, the last 4 months of Rebecca's life. Angela is her name, and she's from Grenada, and heaven sent her. She's one of those people, and I got her stuff together, and Angela came over, and I said, do you like any of these things? She said, I love them, and I have daughters. And so I said, fantastic, they're yours. But now it's tough to still open that closet and see that there's nothing in there. That's tough.
Yeah.
And that's, and this is a year later. So, it just hits you when it hits you.
And then you were able to do this beautiful dedication in your acceptance speech, which did what you just did, which was thank everybody who came over, who just brought bagels,
Yeah.
who gave you love. And when I met you, your capacity for love, and I think it's the secret. People go, what's longevity in a career? Well, incredible talent. You have that. Hard work. That's you. Work ethic is absurd. I mean, to get me to lay on some kind of foam roller to stretch out my glute that I didn't know is in my T-band is destroyed. I didn't know. Hide Bob behind the dancers, but you have all of those qualities. But your heart is, I think, and this is true of everyone, a lot of my friends I introduced to you, and they just went, oh my God, this man is love. I mean, you were out here in LA, you met my wife Kelly, and she's like, oh my God. You leave the house, she goes, he's the most beautiful person I've ever met.
She's special. I envy you. She's a wonderful, wonderful human being. Talented, smart, and funny, and she gets you completely.
Yeah, that's not to her advantage. I'm not the easiest thing, but
well, who is? We come with a lot of baggage, all of us, and you find somebody that understands all that and loves you despite or in spite of it. And
well, what's good is she's with her family right now for the holidays, and I'm going to meet her because she just had a new niece born.
Right?
So I have a little child. Yeah, we do the Instagram shuffle.
Yeah, exactly.
Now this play, interestingly enough, your career has shadowed your life. The pieces that you get offered, the pieces that you take, all the different stages, it's just fascinating. It happens with me too. It's like when things are very difficult, I find myself, I'm on tour now so hardcore to make the best special, to be the best stand-up that I've ever been, because I never accepted that I was a stand-up, even though I did it always as my hard drive. It just happened naturally. It wasn't an effort. But now I'm in a different, I can't wait for you to see it, but I don't think you'll be able to because your schedule is 45 shows an hour.
Well, I'm actually leaving my show on January 16th.
No, don't say that. I can't. I'll have to cut it out. I can't leave that in. What?
Yeah, I am, because, and not that I have anything to go to. It's just that for me, I've been working on the show for 3.5 years or so. And it was time. I know we had the pandemic in the middle, but I was
remember the pandemic.
You remember the pandemic, kids? I was with the show in Boston, out of town, at the Colonial Theater, which was incredible, a wonderful place to try out. It's a great old house where literally shows like Oklahoma and The Odd Couple tried out, and Sweet Charity, and on and on. And then we came into New York, and I've been thinking about this show since then, and I just wanted to open the show, see that Broadway was up and running and healthy, and then move forward. And I have no idea what's going to happen next. I'm getting a bunch of offers to do stuff, and I just want to find the next thing that blows my skirt up. You were talking about my career. I'm very selective and always have been. And I just want to do stuff that is challenging and different, especially different. Like guys like John Wayne was always John Wayne, but for me, that was the worst John Wayne ever, by the way.
No, it was fine. I don't know what mine is. Mine's just terrible. I don't know. Mine's Norm Macdonald, I think. I don't know. There's another, I can't go through a day where I did stand up, not last night, but every other night of my life this year. And I take him with me everywhere. He's just right there. But
that's beautiful.
But yeah, you maybe a leading man type thing, or someone who wants to figure out who he is kind of thing. Are there pieces, or anything you could talk about?
I don't know. I mean, I just did a reading not too long ago, about a month ago, of a new play that I hope makes it to Broadway, a three-hander, and it was me and my parents were played by Sally Field and Nathan Lane, and I certainly hope something happens with that play. I think it's got a lot of potential and quite beautiful.
Well, that'd be a joy. Is it an emotional play?
It is an emotional play. Yeah, it's quite a beautiful play.
That after Moulin Rouge would be quite a release because if anyone that's familiar with the film and hasn't seen the play. By the way, if you haven't seen this play, are you completely sold out now till you're gone?
Of course, there are tickets available, but it's sold out every night. I mean, we get to that place every night, whether it happens a week before or an hour before, we are sold out, and we're very, very lucky. And we got that beautiful Tony bump because of those 10 wins, almost 14.
You were robbed, but Tony bump back in the 80s, Studio 54, Tony bump meant something else. That was in the bathroom.
Exactly.
Everybody takes something from a show. Not everybody, but people do. I would, if I were you might have to move, but I would take the elephant.
Oh man, I would love to take the elephant. It would be worth moving for. That thing is gorgeous. And it's all like just styrofoam sprayed.
Right. Don't tell us that. We don't want to know.
And it's real.
It's a petrified elephant. He's alive.
He's alive.
Baz Luhrmann. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Because
no.
Will you please say it?
Baz Luhrmann.
Oh my God! I got to get out of show business. I think it's happened. That did it for me. I'm such a fan of Boz Scaggs' work. Oh, Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, that's what I got out of this podcast. How involved was he with this?
He was very involved. He was not as involved in with us in Boston. He was involved in the development of the piece. But then once we came to New York, they were around, he and Catherine Martin, his wife, who was the designer of the original film.
Her name, by the way, is Catherine Martin. I just wanted to get that clear.
Yes.
I'm the Norm Crosby of podcasters. Malaprops. Sorry, Danny.
I don't know. Oh my God, please. They were both involved. It was great to have them around and to, ask them questions. Whenever you needed, you go right to the source. For God's sakes, that movie is iconic. And we knew we had to create something that was, singular to theater the way that film is singular to cinema. He created a whole new genre in a way with using pop music. And, and I think we've done something very special. I think the show is a lot of fun, and it's at this point, I keep saying, after the pandemic, it's a perfect escape from what's going on in the world and all the negativity. And it's just damn fun. And who doesn't need that? And you've never seen anything like it. I've been in 18 Broadway shows. I've never seen anything like this before. You walk in the theater and it's mesmerizing.
It's a spectacle from the beginning. The production design goes all the way out to the street.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And it's like a rocket ship. You get in there and you strap in and it just keeps going. And then all of a sudden, after 2.5 hours, you go, whoa, that was quite a ride. And it's just a big fun ride.
I hope people get to see it. It's specific. Because your show is a hit and was from the start. Now then, everything stopped. So I'm going to take a quick break because I take one break. This is the big break. Watch how long this break takes. It's probably about something that you would do for man grooming, or possibly it could be used to get good clothing, or therapy. It's for therapy. I don't think I do ads for gummies. I'm not sure, but we'll be right back. Well, the holiday season is here, and with it comes the yearly questions of what do I wear to non-ugly sweater parties, and how do I maximize my time savoring holiday moments and minimize my time shopping for gifts? Fear not, weary holiday wanderer, Mack Weldon has all the answers, whether it is an office party, a party with family and friends, or just a holiday party of you, your couch, and a game on TV. Mack Weldon has all the essentials to keep you stylish and comfortable throughout the season. And their innovative daily wear system has taken the hard work out of outfit planning and pieces designed to work together for any occasion, saving you time and sparing you any extra holiday stress. We're talking top-notch tops, best-selling bottoms, and underwear and accessories that will please even the scroogiest guys on your list. With Mack Weldon, your holiday heavy lifting will be complete within minutes. I actually got some Mack Weldon products. I got sweatpants, but they're casual pants, but they have a button and pockets that zip and work, and it's really fine fabric, and it's really, really comfortable, and that's what I like to wear, especially during these days. I don't even have to have pants on, but I choose to wear them if they're Mack Weldons because they're very, very comfortable, and I'm getting myself more, and I'm paying for it because I'm that kind of guy. So it's a wonderful place. I actually go on the site and look at it and decide what I'm going to get next time because I'm a busy guy, right? So you can go right to the site, go to Mack Weldon. You're busy. You want nice shirts that are comfy. You want stuff that you can wear anywhere. I mean, where are you going? If you're going to the office, you can still wear it. These are different times. Go to the gas station. Of course, Mack Weldon is amazing at a gas station. Let me get a little more detailed. As something of a stickler when it comes to comfortable sweatpants and sweatshirts, I was initially skeptical when I heard the hype around Mack Weldon's Ace collection. But man, was I proven wrong. Pairing super soft, high-performance fabric with unmatched style, these have become the pieces I live in whether I'm hanging at home or running errands around the town. This is what I'm talking about. This former sweat skeptic has a new outlook. Don't sweat it. Just trust Mack Weldon. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a fan of the cold. Feeling like a walking popsicle just doesn't suit me. But with Mack Weldon's warm knit collection that features shirts, vests, pajama pants, and more, my chilly winter days are behind me. Using innovative technology that uses your own body heat to keep you at perfect temperature, these products from Mack Weldon have me saying something I never thought I would. I am ready for the cold. A gift set, what a concept. One gift that holds many gifts inside, and no one is doing better gift sets this holiday season than Mack Weldon. With limited edition color drops and a bevy of new releases, their holiday gift sets are the perfect present for any guy on your list. This holiday season, every guy deserves to wear unforgettable clothes that he loves for the moments with loved ones that he will never forget. And that's why Mack Weldon is always on my holiday list now for giving and for getting. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com/Bob and enter promo code Bob. That's MackWeldon.com/Bob, promo code Bob for 20% off Mack Weldon. Get it right this holiday season. Okay, we're back. This is the beautifulness of this medium. Okay, so you're up, you're doing Moulin Rouge. You are not feeling well. This is pre-vaccine. This is pre-everything. It's just, hospitals are starting to fill up. So,
yeah, we know that things are getting bad in Europe. Italy, 1,000 people have died in Italy, and it's sweeping across Europe. And we think, oh gosh, I hope it doesn't come here. And we're too advanced, we're too smart, or we're too arrogant or something to think that it could.
No, we're perfect. We got it all down. We're psychologically sound. Is this 2 years ago or 18 months ago? What is this?
This is March of 2020.
Okay. That was it. That's our mark in time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounded like it was starting to hit our shores. And we had Thursday matinees, which was unusual for Broadway. Most matinees are on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and we had Thursdays and Saturdays. And Thursday, March 12th, 2020, we were getting set up for our matinee, and we all got texts from the producer that said meet in the house in the audience at 1:00, and it was a 2:00 matinee. And everybody sent it to everybody in the building, the ushers, everybody, people backstage, wardrobe, all the actors. And we're sitting in the audience, and he says, one of our company members, we think, has tested positive for COVID. And so we are canceling the show today and tonight, and we're going to clean the theater as best we can, and hopefully we'll have a show tomorrow. And the house manager said,
clean the theater.
Yeah. This is our naivete at the time.
Yeah.
And the house manager said, so what do I tell the 400 people online who are outside right now?
Mm-hmm.
Producer said, just tell them there was an emergency and that, the show had to be canceled today. And that's all we can do. And later on, so our show was the first show to be canceled. And later on in the evening, the Governor Cuomo, or disgraced Governor Cuomo now, he... I
don't know why I'm laughing. There's nothing funny about any of this.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
But he canceled all of Broadway at that time. He closed down all the shows for fear of spreading COVID. And rightly so, it needed to happen. And they said it should be closed for, we figure about a week. And I remember after the producers' meeting, I went up to my dressing room and started packing my stuff. And my dresser said, what are you doing? Well, you don't need to take all that. And I said, I have a bad feeling about this. I have a feeling that this is going to be Broadway's lost year. And I was wrong by 6 months. We actually were out of work for a year and a half. We were closed. And he said, do you really think it'll be that bad? And I said, yeah, this is, if everything they say is true about pandemics, then we're about to be hit very hard. I just have a bad feeling. And I took a lot of stuff home, and it's a good thing I did, because, I wasn't in that room for a year and a half. So it was a hard time, being away. And then 9 days later, I started coughing and started getting a fever. And I thought, oh, damn, no, please, God, no. And slowly got sicker and sicker. And I was having trouble.
And Rebecca's home with you.
Rebecca's home with me, with not being able to stand by herself, she has a walker and she can, help herself with her arms were still working at that time. And my son, Zach, was there as well, helping. So
and you're coughing. Do you decide to then stay away from her? Do you?
Yes, exactly. But God knows, if I had it and I was coughing like that, then she probably had it. So what I did was I was having trouble breathing. So I decided to go into the shower and steam. And so I thought maybe that could get some stuff up. And I went to breathe and I couldn't breathe. And I fell to my knees in the shower. And I, turned off the water and I called out to them and I said, guys, I need to go to the hospital. And it was not like there was nothing premeditated about that sentence.
I don't want to add levity, but did you first use the foam roller to make sure that your knees were okay? Did you do any physical? Did you do any PT?
Not at that moment. And
it was like by people that I know, and yours was one of the more significant cases. Is it a ton of bricks on your chest and you cannot breathe? Your lungs have
your lungs could not expand properly. There's all this. I had a double COVID pneumonia, and I went to my son, Zach, walked me to the hospital. And, your whole life, you're taking care of your kids. You're wanting to make sure they're okay. And all of a sudden, he was there taking care of me. And it was a huge role reversal in that moment. And they admitted me into the hospital. And they said, well, we have to test you for COVID. And, we should get the results back within 24 hours. So you have to stay in this little isolated room. And I stayed there for 19 hours. And they said, okay, you tested positive. You're going to have to go upstairs to the COVID ward.
And how crowded was this hospital? Was the ER full? Was it insane?
Full, insane.
It felt like wartime, right?
Completely felt like MASH, an episode of MASH, everything in triage. And they brought me upstairs and the nurse came into the room and said, yep, you tested positive for COVID. By the way, first thing she asked me, she said, by the way, are you an organ donor? And I went, yeah, I am. She said, okay, I have to ask that. And then she walked out. I was like, oh, fuck.
But if you've got COVID, they're not going to use your lung for someone else.
Right. I would think not, but she asked.
Maybe your testicles. That's probably what they were thinking.
In fact, definitely my testicles, because she came to ask if she could personally use my testicles.
It was for home use. You were a boner donor. That's all I have to contribute to the earth, Danny.
I'll be here all week. And they brought me into the ward, and it was like, there were people lined up everywhere. Everybody was exhausted beyond belief. And I was there for about a week, and there were people dying. I was literally in the room right next to the nurses' station. So I could hear that they were rushing this person and that person to the ICU, putting this person on a ventilator, hearing when that one died and this one died. And the guy I was in the room with almost died twice, even though I was on the highest dose of oxygen that I could get. At one point, he was going, and I ripped off my oxygen and opened the door, and I said, please get somebody in here, please. And they came in and rushed and got him back. It was insane. And I thought, if I stay here any longer, because there was one day I almost went, I could feel, how you feel those curtains going, This happened to me over the course of 3 hours. I was going, I had less and less oxygen. But I thought, if I stayed there any longer, I would be one of those people that they were talking about. And I knew I had to get out of there. They showed me an x-ray of my lungs, and they were healthy lungs are supposed to be all black. Mine were completely white, except for two little black strips in the middle. And those black strips were the only things keeping me alive. And I knew I just needed to get out of there. And so every time they would walk in, they'd go, how are you feeling, Mr. Burstein? I'd go, great. I feel fantastic. Woo! Look at all the exercises. And then they'd walk out, and I'd go, oh, God, I'm dying. But they wanted to put me on a ventilator. I did not want to be on a ventilator, because everybody who was being put on a ventilator was dying. And so
I remember, were we texting during that? I think we were. Yeah. Because you said forced oxygen was the thing that saved your life.
Yes. And I'd tell you something, Bob. I really have never told you this before. I texted when those curtains were going that day. I texted several people, yourself included, and I said, send me anything funny. Make me laugh. And you did. I forget what you were, what we were texting. I was so out of it at the time. But that laughter brought me back. And all of a sudden, I realized that all of a sudden everything opened up again. But my son Alex was making me laugh, and Rebecca was making me laugh, and you were making me laugh, and Joel Gray, of all people, he was sending me stuff and to make me laugh. And whether it was videos or just funny chats that we had, that happiness, I credit that happiness and that with pulling me through. It made me come back. It brought me back.
And you walked to that hospital from your apartment.
And I walked home. Yeah, it's not that far. It's only about a block and a half, 2 blocks. But I walking home was like, the drunk walk going home after a fun night of partying, where the sidewalk is coming up all the time. And you feel like you're walking in an earthquake. But I made it home, and then I just crashed, and I stayed in a room in the back. And Rebecca, despite, because she was healthy as a horse, she actually got COVID, but it lasted for like 2 days. She had a little bit of a fever around about 101. That was the worst of it. And then it was gone.
So the ALS killed COVID? Is that How do you cure COVID? ALS. But there's a caveat.
It's a catch. Yeah. Yeah. So, but, because that's the way she, was with every other illness, never ill. And if she did catch, COVID, of course, it was only going to be 2 days and she would be fine, which she was. She was. Yeah. I actually, I'm not a praying man. I'm not religious at all, but I said, please God, don't let her get sick with COVID on top of it. And, she did get sick, but it wasn't bad at all. So I was, thankful that she, didn't have that awful thing on top of it, because that's eventually what kills people with ALS, because they have trouble breathing,
Yeah, it's the same with many of these autoimmune diseases and lupus, and in my case, with my cause, scleroderma, it's pulmonary hypertension, the lungs atrophy, and that's that. And COVID.
I've learned so much about scleroderma from you, from going to all those benefits and seeing all those doctors speak for all those years, and seeing you and Susan raise so much money over the years. You put your heart and soul into that cause, Bob, like nobody I've ever seen. It's
truly... I ain't done because we have to. I'm not leaving this planet ever. By the way, I figured out how to stay alive. Just got to sell a few more souls, but but we are going to probably do a benefit in New York live this year. That's the plan. But it won't be in a place that's confined and small, because I'm still not comfortable with patients, with people that have scleroderma that come to the events. And I try to do it on a night when you're not working, but apparently you may be in rehearsals for something by then. But you also deserve some time off, Danny.
Yeah, I do, and I'm looking forward to that. Just taking a little time for myself. Yeah,
do you go on Bumble? Have you been?
Ow.
You do. You pour your heart out for an hour about your beautiful wife and her loss, and so are you meeting anybody? That's like the worst. Who would do that? Me. But
are you kidding? A lot of people. But you know what? And I'm not averse to it. Believe me. It's a lonely time. You miss. For me, I was married before Rebecca, and she was married as well. And for me, it was 40 years of having somebody in bed next to you, and reaching your hand out, and in bed and feeling someone's hand there. Thank God it was my wife.
Or just not just a hand. Just like thing.
Realized as I was saying that it could be just a hand.
A severed hand, and that means someone's in the house. That's scary.
It is not good.
That's terrible.
It's terrible. But for 40 years, having somebody there with me, that I loved, and then all of a sudden, nothing. So yeah, it's not like I don't think about meeting someone again. I certainly do. And
but you're a creature of love, and you're also a passionate man because of your background. Fill me in again now. You're
half Jewish, half Costa Rican.
That is like a very hot mixture. There's someone out there that is listening or watching this on YouTube right now, and I'm telling you, this is better than any swipe left or right medium. Or swipe up, which I don't know what that is, but there's got to be one. Swipe. I think you got to swipe front to back, though, because you don't want to get an infection. Sorry, you're drinking. So what do you do in time off? What time off do you have?
I don't have much time off, and usually I'm doing other projects, other readings, and I'm recording a demo for a new Disney animated film this week. I'm doing lots of publicity for the show constantly, and looking forward to whatever the next project is. I just want something that is different and exciting, something that blows my skirt up.
Well, you keep saying this, blow your skirt up. So is there something else that you want to tell me? I mean, the times have changed. I'm open to whatever you want to be. I'll identify with you. I will. We could call you and I we. I don't care.
It's on my Bumble profile.
I mean, I'm looking at the things. So we're talking South Pacific. I've seen a lot of, if not all of it, I've seen most of your shows, and it's such a crazy range. It's just different human beings, and you have the ability. Your singing is just. When I met you, and I'm standing next after watching you in Drowsy, being the funniest. Yes, one of the funniest characters written in a play that you can write of a over the top, arrogant singer, Latin lover, that just keeps saying "I am Adolfo" over and over again, telling you how wonderful he is. But your energy, your force, I was nervous as hell, and I've told you this before. To stand next to you the first time, and when you're put in, which means that you're coming in after other people have been there. You're thrown in. I mean, you have like one quick rehearsal with everybody, and they're exhausted. The cast has to do a show later. Oh, you got to go in and get Bob ready, and then I'm standing next to you that night, and I had a couple fun shows. I had the NyQuil show. We always like to talk about that. Where
That show.
you saved my life. You saved my life because all I was supposed to say. Someone said, "Who is that?" Or what was the line exactly? It was when the janitor showed up, right? It was when the house superintendent.
Yeah, at the very end of the show.
Yeah,
but I don't.
spoiler alert it.
Yeah, really. I don't remember exactly what the line.
Oh, the line was, what was that? And I say a record. And Man in Chair says a record. And I was on NyQuil from the night before, and it was a matinee, and I think it felt like 9 trucks drove through the stage, and you were all frozen. It was a frozen moment because the play was an ethereal play that this poor guy, that Man in Chair, fictionalized in his head that this life was going on, and you were all frozen. And I'm looking, and I looked at you, and you kind of moved your mouth. A record. It was like you were almost doing ventriloquism with me. And I said it, and I heard, especially the elderly, not elderly, but Jerry Vicky, some of the older actors, Joanne Worley, they let out a sigh of relief because they could have had to be frozen for a good 2 minutes. But you had such a force on stage, and I think everyone that's worked with you, I would say that they probably say that to you, don't they, about your energy?
I just, I just love what I do. So I think maybe that's what translates more than anything. And I'm such a creature of habit. I love walking in a stage door and high-fiving the doorman and saying hello to all the stage hands. And, and I love the dressers, the wardrobe people. I love the ushers, and I love the other actors that I get to play with every night. And I've always been that way. I'm not one of those people who ever wanted to do anything else. When I was a kid, I said to myself, all I want is to be a working actor and have the respect of my peers. I didn't care about the fame or awards or anything like that. I just wanted to have a normal life like my parents did. Like, yeah, they have a home and a car and kids, just kind of the normal things, but which are so weird to think of for an actor. You think of your long struggling kind of career that you have ahead of you, but I just wanted some kind of normalcy, and I was able to get that. And then of course the other stuff is all thrown in, but that, to me, the work and the fun of it is what's most exciting. And I had some great teachers. You were a great teacher of mine. Your steadiness and your ability to be this big, beautiful heart, despite your notoriety, your fame for years and years, being on television and being a stand-up comic. And I had great teachers like the Tony Randall and Jack Klugman and Jerry Stiller and John Go and Sigourney Weaver and Bernadette Peters, and they're all just, you learn so much from them. Their steadiness, their willingness to show up every single night and do the work and be generous doing the work. That's another thing that, is just not a lot of people want to get out there and be famous. They come out of schools.
That's what's wrong with everything. That's the goal of our culture. And that's the unfortunate part is the Gen Zers who are the future and their kids. And then they want to get on the TikTok and everybody's got 15 minutes of fame or 30 minutes or a little longer. And they just want to be stars and they want to be rich. And I don't mind people wanting to have money. Everybody should have a great goal. Do whatever the hell you want. But to be famous, it's an exercise in futility. You'll never be happy if all you want to do is be famous. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah, you should find something that you absolutely love to do and then follow that. But,
that's why I became a gigolo.
How's that working out?
Well, I'm married, and I've never made any money in the gigolo business. I don't think anybody knows what gigolo means. But, I mean, I'm looking at what you did, and I never knew that one of the best shows ever made on television was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm looking through your stuff, and you did a full episode of that thing?
Yeah, a TV film. Yeah, we did. That was like 17 years ago.
So it was not an episode. It was a film off of the sitcom, off of the show,
television film, where the two of them came to New York and they were looking for their Eddie's son Serge, and instead they found me, and I was Serge's boyfriend, and it was just wonderful. It was just so much fun because the two of them are so hilarious. And anyway, at the end of the episode, they adopt me as their son, which was kind of fantastic. When we first had our read through, when they first came to New York, they flew over on the Concorde, and we had a read through that day, and they had this huge, plate of fruit, and we sat there, and there was about 60% of the script was written, and then there were huge swaths of white, nothing written, and then dialogue at the bottom of the page, and then some dialogue here, and then just nothing, blank the rest of the page. And she said, "Oh yes, those will be written," and or not. And she said, "When we're speaking," Jennifer Saunders said this, "when we're speaking, there will be silences. Say something." Just like that. So it was like, "Oh, you mean just improv and play with you?" And which we did. And so I'd say about 40% of what showed up on the screen was just us improvising and having an absolute blast. The two of them, Jen Saunders and Joanna Lumley, brilliant. Talk about your teachers. They were so smart and so funny, and just such good friends and such good colleagues. And they loved one another so much. And they were generous. They were willing to, let us share in their comedy magic. And I'll never forget that. So many people recognize me from that. And even I think Joanna Lumley once told me that there were people with my face was on T-shirts in London, that kind of thing. It's such a gas. It was really so much fun to do.
Did you do any theater in the West End? Were you in England?
No, I've been offered jobs. I was supposed to do that play that I did with John Lithgow and Sigourney Weaver off Broadway. I was supposed to do it in London. Sigourney was going to do it. John couldn't do it. And instead, oh gosh, I'm blanking on this is what happens.
Right.
All out of our colon. Alan was supposed to do it. That's what it was.
Say it again. I think I cut you off.
Alan Rickman and Sigourney and I were supposed to do it in the West End. And then Sigourney's mom got sick. And so it was all canceled. So, but I wish I had gotten the chance to do that. I would have loved to have worked with Alan Rickman. I hear so many wonderful things about him. He was such a wonderful person, as well as being a brilliant actor that we all know.
That's the part that I don't understand, because we all know that collaborate on things, that it trickles down from the top, whether you're in a business but when you're in the arts, if you have prima donnas in any place, in any department. I had a production designer once on a thing I was directing, and he said, "There's an asshole on every project. I just hope it's not me."
Yeah.
But your spirit, do you think your way of being came from, yes, it's all the influences of your life, but do you think it was your parents? Do you think that's how this happened?
I have the greatest parents. I do. My dad is he
And they're
teaches.
both alive. They're
They're both
alive.
you. Yes. My dad teaches ancient Greek philosophy at Queen's College. Although he sort of is semi-retired since the pandemic. He's 84 now, but he's been teaching all this time, over 50 years, to Queen's College. And my mom teaches painting, and she's taught at schools, museums, and all sorts of places. And then about 30 years ago, she taught at a senior citizen center, and she dropped everything else and only teaches at senior citizen centers now. They're just the greatest people. And who grows up with a father that tells you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a poet? Like Walt Whitman? Wouldn't that be exciting? Whose father says that to them? My dad did, and made life exciting for me. The reason I'm an actor is because they're both teachers, and they would hand me books and say, "Oh, you should read this." And I just couldn't get into reading novels. And he said, "Well, why don't you try this?" And he handed me a play. And I loved it. I thought, "Oh, I totally understand this. There are people just talking. It's like it's like my family."
What play was it?
They're hashing out ideas. It was actually Ibsen, Peer Gynt, him and his scenes with him and his mother. And I thought, this kind of fantastic. And then I started reading, easier to read plays,
Right.
and I just fell in love with theater. And then, I took a class in junior high school, and my teacher there in junior high school, my English teacher, said, "I think you've got something. You should go to the High School of Performing Arts." And I said, "Great. What's the High School of Performing Arts?" And he explained it to me, and he said, "Liza Minnelli went there, and Ben Vereen went there. And, it's a great, great school. It's on 46th, and there are only about 400 kids in the school, and you have to audition with a monologue." And I said, "Great. What's a monologue?" He explained that to me. And I learned 2 monologues and auditioned, and I got lucky. And that day, I think they auditioned over 4,000 New York City school kids, and about 120 made it in. And I was one of those people, and thank God it changed my life.
Well, all anybody ever does, and it happens a lot at award shows, but the question that's asked of everybody that's successful is how do you go about it? The answer is always you have to want it more than anything. Otherwise, forget about it. It has to drive you. Otherwise, you're exercise in futility. And
Yeah.
and it has to be just a passion. And anybody can come out of literally nothing and have a full on career in this crazy business if that's what they want, if they love. And the gift that I love the most about it is, besides I have a bit of a hyphenate, so I'll be solo on stage that's the mode I'm in right now. But you've always been in that collaborative process when you're doing from the very beginning with the writers to working with the director, but to getting to work with the actors and then all the crew and all the art departments and everything. It's a family, it's a circus. And when it works, when it's not, and I know there's some theaters that have shows that may not be doing well, or sometimes people aren't happy, or they're just not something's wrong. They're not the best people, and they exist. And they're out there because I know some of the Broadway houses aren't doing that well, and they're, it's been rough. But you have, South Pacific, Follies. I've seen all these. Golden Boy I didn't see, but how long ago was Golden Boy?
Oh, gosh, let's say about 10 years ago. That
All
was
right.
Another one of those perfect experiences, directed by Bartlett Shear. It was a beautiful, beautiful production. Really was very special.
So do you have a favorite? Is it usually The Last Baby that you did? Would it be Moulin Rouge because that's where you are at this moment? Or
I love what I'm doing right now. I loved Fiddler, and I love
you're
Drowsy Chaperone.
so good as Tevye. You know, you played a Jew.
So I've heard. Yes, I've been told. And you know,
You know, it's rough out there. These are tough times. You know,
I know. It's not
it's
easy.
crazy.
But yes.
But please continue. I cut you off. Is there any? And you love Drowsy because Drowsy's a love letter.
Completely, and really, as I said, put me on the map, and you know, and all of a sudden established me in a way that I hadn't been established before. But I want to mention one more thing about generosity. When I was 18 years old in college at Queens College, where I went, I just found out, by the way, that they're going to be giving me an honorary doctorate in June, which is so unbelievably moving to me, my alma mater.
You can perform surgery after that?
Yes, bend over. My teacher there, Ed Greenberg, was directing Merrily We Roll Along, and it was only a few months after the Broadway production of Merrily, and it didn't do well. It was a famous flop on Broadway, and we were doing it, and I was cast in the lead, and I couldn't really figure out how to play the role because it was a really difficult role, and it was unsuccessful in New York. And my friend said, well, you know who you should ask about this? Stephen Sondheim. And I said, yeah, sure, of course. You know, it's like, why don't you ask Beethoven about, you know, Fifth Symphony, you know? And I said, yeah, well, that'd be nice. But he said, no, I have his address. So I wrote him this letter, and I wrote him all these questions. And he wrote me back within the week and said, all those questions would have to be answered in a letter the size of War and Peace. Look, here's my number. Give me a call. We'll get together and talk about the show. So I called him right back. And 3 weeks later, I went to his home, his townhouse in Turtle Bay, and walked in the door. James Lapine was walking out. They were writing Sunday in the Park with George at the time. And he sat down. He said, actually, I'll be right back. He ran upstairs, got a carafe of wine, of white wine, that size, sat it, boom, right in between us, put two glasses down and said, okay, what do you want to know? And for the next 3 hours, I got the greatest lesson anyone could ever give, anyone could ever receive. And, you know, it's something I will never forget about everything he said, but also about his generosity, his kindness, to take someone like me who cared about the work under his wing to teach me so much. I just, you know, it inspired me, and that's why I give back. That's why I talk to students. And then to go on to work with him, I did 3 shows with him in New York, and cast recordings, and to know him and to be able to go, hey, I have a question, you know, and email him. And that's, you know, that was something I'll never forget. And his passing hit the theater community hard, as you can imagine. He was such a father figure to so many people.
Right.
And such a great mentor to so many of us. In my opening night card to him for Company, which I did on Broadway in 1995, it was the first Broadway revival. I wrote to him and this, you know, lovely letter, and I said, thanks, Rabbi. And Rabbi, of course, means teacher. And that's what he told me he would have done. He would have been a teacher if he hadn't been a composer and lyricist. And he was a teacher in so many ways.
Right. That's such a beautiful story. And it's something that exists and we still have it, but it sure isn't being projected that way in our culture. We are not hearing about when you mention teachers and schools, it just starts. You go into politics. You go into what are they doing to our children? And I had teachers change my life. I had a teacher tell me to not become a doctor and become a entertainer or whatever the hell I was going to be, a filmmaker.
Wow.
And the joke is she saved thousands of lives because I would have. I'm not the guy you want to say, oh, yes, I'm an organ donor. You don't want to. I just get a band, electric saw of some kind. Well, Danny, I don't know what to say, except I just love you so much.
Me too, Bob. I love you so, so much. You know,
It's just,
for some reason, you talk right to my heart. You always have.
yeah, it happened right away, literally right away. And
My door. I'm going to let them go.
who's there? Oh, someone at your door?
Yeah, they just rang the bell.
Well, I sent you a delivery of perishable meat.
You better get it.
Well, I just look forward to talking to you. I'll call you a little bit after so we could talk about some other stuff too that the listeners just don't want to know. They don't want to know that. What do you use to keep yourself aroused? Things like that.
Right.
I use frankincense and myrrh because it reminds me. No, I'm not going to do that kind of humor. You can't do that humor.
Oh, what is that? That's that old Kathy Ladman joke. Oh, look, myrrh. They brought the three wise men. The Weissmans are here.
that is probably how they got the name.
Yes.
Now that's a question. Were you a churchgoer as a kid? Did your parents take you to that?
Oh, God, no. My mother was raised Catholic. My father was raised Jewish. And they basically said, go, be free. Go everywhere. Go to shul, go to temple, go to church, and, see what you want to do and see what speaks to you. And thank God, he was a doctor of philosophy. So, he taught me, he kept me on the straight and narrow. And we were raised with strong moral values and love and caring and kindness. And that's what guided me more than anything else.
And then the rest is the luck of the draw and how you survive all of the barricades that are presented to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You just got to keep going because there's a greater good. There's still more to do. That's how I always feel. There's more to help and touch and entertain and make laugh and find cures.
Yeah, and you've got all these people since March 2020 they had dreams, they had hopes, they're young people, they were on Broadway, they were about to get a part, they were hoping to keep going out, auditioning, and all those dreams were shattered. So people, of course, everyone's heart's breaking over all the small business owners, all the families, all the people. I mean, my God, we've been through a pandemic and we're still coming out. It's going to take a while. And I keep saying we're failing upward, but we're going to get there. You must have experienced, here you are at the top of the food chain on Broadway on a hit show with the biggest budget, with the most wonderful cast, and you as the ringmaster. What do you do? Have you heard over these past 2 years from so many people going, I don't know how I'm going to make it. My dreams are shattered. Were people in the company contacting you? Was it that dire?
It was dire. We had a text thread in the company, and a lot of people have not come back to the show. About a third of the company is new from before the pandemic. And some people just left the business altogether. And I understand, they moved in with their families. They moved back to wherever, Canada, to the West Coast, just because they couldn't do it anymore. And they're moved in with their parents and they're starting new careers. It's been hard on so many, as you said, you mentioned small businesses here in New York. Oh my God, so many have not come
I've
back.
been to New York a bunch, and people say to me, my spoiled friends say, oh, everything's back. Oh, we're going to these restaurants and this restaurant. And I said, no one really is in touch with the world because two of my daughters live there. in Brooklyn, and we were picking restaurants, and I went back with my wife Kelly, and we were, it wasn't back. I was trying to support hotels I care about. It was, and it still is. There's a huge issue, and some people in the country don't even think it happened. I don't even think some people think Broadway exists.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that New York has taken a strong stand, and people have to be vaccinated in order to come see the show, and they wear a mask. And I thought it was going to be weird at first, but you literally, I've seen shows too with a mask. I'm going to a show. You forget you have it on in 2 seconds. You just sit there and enjoy the show like you would any other Broadway show. It's not a big pain at all. You're not losing any freedoms. You're protecting yourself, and more importantly, you're protecting the people around you. You're not hurting anyone. You're doing the world a kindness by getting vaccinated. And it's not that big of a deal. You go to the pharmacy and they put a shot in your arm and you're fine, and you move forward just like you did when you were 5 years old before you went to school. That's why we don't have mumps and rubella
and polio. Yeah.
And they took their time developing this thing. It's been in development for years.
I know, but people don't believe it. And I'm out there touring this country, and I have audiences and I choose the path of least resistance. I get a shot every 6 minutes. I get a booster. No one's getting it from me, and I'm not going to get it to a degree where it would put me in a hospital. But I try to empathize with why a person would not want to do it. And all I can come away with is I just don't want to breathe their air in case they have it. And I wish them well, but I can't take the anger anymore. I just am done with it. I'm just done with, and I'm done with I don't know. It just feels like people don't want to believe in they don't even want to know the facts that it was the SARS vaccine in a thermos and they threw some bat parts in it and maybe a booger. I mean, I don't even think people go, oh, well, he has that job. I won't say his name because he's a scientist people love to hate. But, and doctors have big egos, and we're talking about somebody that, basically was at the forefront of curing AIDS and SARS. So,
of course,
I mean,
but
you
go to a hospital, if you get sick, you go to your doctor, and you trust them, and you get cancer. You go to the doctor and you figure out how to treat cancer. You get your radiation or chemo or whatever it is. Those same doctors are telling you about this getting vaccines.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to trust them on this. Oh, but if I have this, then I do trust them. I mean, they're scientists. It's their job to tell you the truth about the situation. And they're not steering you wrong. They're trying to save your life. And of course, P.S., all these people are dying needlessly who haven't gotten vaccinated. It's heartbreaking. It's not like, serves them right. It's heartbreaking.
They shouldn't be dying. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people, and I do know people whose doctors said, well, I think you should do what you think is right for you. They're giving the person the right to bear arms for their body. We're in a place where everybody's just going to be, taking over, and they're the sheriff of their own world. And we've fallen apart a little bit.
Unfortunately, it's an infectious disease. And it because they're feeling I don't need to take it. They may be killing other people around them.
Well, no one cares about that anymore. That one, they keep that for your Broadway people. That's just, that's the compassion that you see at the matinee and you're crying and then you go and hug your family. But I'm out there and people do want to have a good time. And I think people basically are good. And
So do
we
I.
are being fed just a load of shit on the news from different sources, and some are just pure ignorance. Just everybody's eye rolling, and it's just gross, what people are doing rather than just. And I don't want to do that with this, even talking about it. I don't talk about it very much because it causes nothing but problems. But you don't have people coming to your show and going, I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that, do you?
No, we have people coming into the show and enjoying the hell out of life. And they do it because they've been responsible with their bodies and responsible with the people, to the people around them, sitting around them, next to them. And they're moving on with their lives. They're not letting this disease control them. And it's not something they're obsessing over 24/7. The doctors have said this will help you, and they've tested it out. They've gone past, board after board, certifying that the vaccines are safe. Terrific. I'm all for it. Let's go. Let's move forward together, and let's eradicate this disease and put this pandemic, in the rear view. It's time. We can. And we don't have to, fail upwards. We can actually soar upwards in a positive way. But everybody has to eventually get on the same page. And we don't want anybody to die.
No.
About. And we want everybody to enjoy their lives and move forward.
I don't want people I disagree with to die.
Of course.
I want people that hurt other people to pay the consequences. That doesn't mean death. But,
right.
I don't know. Something happens to someone that you love, then crazy things happen if you turn into Liam Neeson, if it's your kid,
Well, that's different. Yeah.
I have a special set of skills. Well, I love you. I was going to say to death, but that's a really... I love you to forced oxygen. I just adore you. And I am so excited to see what your next thing will be. But I'm also excited you'll get to have the holidays. After the holidays, you'll get to have some lifetime Danny time. But
yeah,
everybody should always see everything that you ever do. And I'm sure you see a lot of the same faces over the past 20 years, don't you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, people come back, and it's lovely to see that. It's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
To see. I love you, Bobby. I do.
I love you, Danny. Me too. Me too. I love you with 3/4 of my heart, because 1/4 of it I'm reserving for the next time I see you to give you. I got nothing. I was going to come up with a heart metaphor. I love you with one of my nuts and with my left butt cheek, and
my favorite.
That right? And I won't say this out loud, but one of my tonsils.
Oh.
That's probably got to get cut. Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
You too, and your girls, all your girls.
Thank you. Give my love to your boys.
You got it.
I love you so much.
Wow.
Thanks for talking to me in your day off, my friend.
Anytime.
All right. Tell your parents I love them, and I want to have them as mine.
I don't blame you. They're great people.
I need them. Be well. Love you.
All right. I'm now officially signing off.
Okay. Bye. Danny Burstin. That's my damn friend, Danny Burstin. Wow. That is a special, special person. It was a pretty personal conversation. He's just he's a valiant man, a loving human being. If you can get tickets to Moulin Rouge and you're in New York, it's worth doing before he leaves the show. That you heard it first. No, he probably told other people, but I don't know. Go see everything he ever does. He is one of the most gifted, greatest people that I know in my whole life. So thank you for listening to two friends just talking during this holiday time that's coming upon us. And I wish you guys a really good holiday, no matter what you're celebrating. Celebrate whatever you have good in your life. I hope that you're not hurting too bad. It's been such a difficult time. in one moment you think things are okay, and then tornadoes hit, and so many people are in pain. And then there's the arts, whether it be comedy or a movie you watch or a television show. And then you turn on the news and you see the horror, and then you get to escape. And so that's why talking to someone, a gift like Danny Burstin is to all of us, you've got to see this man perform in your life. You've got to go and see him on Broadway, wherever. I'm sure you'll see him in television and movies. He is just really special. So thank you, guys. That was I hopefully not too of a maudlin episode. Maudlin means it was based on B. Arthur's work as Maud, but it also, boy, did I just lose the demo. But I would just say take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and try to think positive stuff, try not to. It's hard. It's hard to do that. Fight out of a paper bag every day. If you're living in a paper bag, you're probably not listening to this. And I hope you get a bigger bag. I don't think I'm helping anybody with that kind of commentary. But you know what to do with this podcast. I know what I can do with it. But you can rate, review, subscribe. You can follow it. You can listen. Subscribing is good. Go on the YouTube page, youtube.com/Bob Saget. You can get us at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Twatcher, Cratcher, Blinson, Onward, Donner. You can get it everywhere. You just go and look it up, and it's there. Bob Saget's here for you. That would be me. Might change my name legally to the name of the podcast. I'm not sure. I just think the branding really helps. Wishing you guys a lot of good stuff. I do it every time I talk, but I feel like I'm messaging by telling you I'm sending love. So take care of yourselves, and thank you. And I'll see you on the next episode, just a few days from now. Take care, everybody.